Could you imagine arriving home after a long day at work only to find your wife and your 10-year-old son deceased in the home? Who could have taken the life of a beautiful stepmother and a 10-year-old sweet little boy? What kind of twisted, evil, and sick person would commit this type of crime? Let's find out right now. Thursday, my Cajun cuties. Yes, it's me, Anne Marie, aka the Cajun Crime Queen from Carencro, Louisiana. Cajun born, Cajun bred, and when I die, I'll be Cajun dead. I hope after this video that you like, subscribe, and comment, and don't forget to press the notification bell so you never miss a video from me, Anne Marie. I hope you have a beverage. I hope you have a snuggle partner or a snuggle fur partner. Those are the best, and you're ready to hear a true crime story with yours truly. And as always, I want to know: are y'all drinking that water? Are y'all staying hydrated? Are y'all getting those tickers up? Remember, just a quick 20-30 minute walk, especially first thing in the morning, get those endorphins up, and you're going to have an amazing, wonderful day, I promise you. And as always, thank you so much for joining me on this Thriller Thursday evening as we discuss another true crime case. Today, we are going to be traveling back to July of 2006 in Franklin, Indiana, almost 20 years ago. The life of a 10-year-old little boy named Blake and his stepmother, 26-year-old Chynna, were brutally taken away from us inside of their home almost 20 years ago. Blake Michael Dickus was born on February 21st, 1996 to his parents, Christina and Sean Dickus. Blake was a typical fourth grader. He loved everyone. He enjoyed riding his bike. He enjoyed swimming, playing basketball, and of course, video games. He also was crazy in love with his stepmother, Chynna Dickus. Chynna was born on January 22nd, 1980, and she was a loving, beautiful, warm-natured, compassionate person who could light up the room with her smile. Chynna wanted to make a difference in the world and loved volunteering at her church. She had just returned home from a mission trip in El Salvador. 26-year-old Chynna Dickus was so loving, so sweet, so compassionate that while on her mission trip to El Salvador in June 2006, a woman who had never spoken spoke her first word to Chynna. That's how loving and sweet Chynna was. Chynna was also crazy about her stepson Blake. She treated Blake like he was her own. She had been knowing Blake since he was a little boy. She loved him so very much. Chynna and Sean Dickus had just purchased a beautiful home in Franklin, Indiana. It was gorgeous, it was in a nice neighborhood, and they loved being in this community. On a beautiful summer day, Monday, July 24th, 2006, Blake was wrapping up his weekend with his dad. It was a Monday. He was going to go home to his mom, Christina. Blake calls his mom, Christina, and was like, "Hey, Mom, can we go to the movies? And before we go to the movies, can we get some candy? Can we do this? Can we do that?" She was like, "Sure, absolutely. I can't wait to see you. I love you." He says, "I love you too." Christina couldn't wait to see Blake, and Blake couldn't wait to go to the movies with his mom. All of a sudden, Chynna calls Christina back and says, "Hey, do you mind if Blake stays over for lunch? Sean is coming over for lunch, and I would like us all three to have lunch together." Christina says, "Sure, absolutely, no big deal. When y'all done, just meet up with my mom and drop Blake off." Christina said she did not mind at all leaving Blake with Chynna and Sean so they can have lunch together. She didn't see anything wrong with it. However, this decision is a decision that she will regret for the rest of her life. Around 12:45, Sean Dickus arrives home to have lunch with his wife Chynna and his 10-year-old son Blake. He stays for about an hour, kisses them both bye, and goes back to work. And this is when the horrible nightmare began. Chynna was supposed to meet Christina's mom to exchange Blake around a certain time. However, Christina's mom calls her daughter and says, "Hey, Chynna never showed up at the meeting spot, and she's not answering her phone. I don't know what to do." She goes back home. Christina gets off of work. She goes straight to her mom's house to collect Blake. And her mom's like, "Christina, what are you doing here? I told you, Chynna never called me back. She never met up with me. I can't get in touch with her." Christina seems frustrated at the time. She gets in her car. She drives over to Chynna's house to collect Blake. And that is when she sees a horrific scene. She sees police are everywhere. There's crime scene tape around the house. She doesn't know what's going on. She steps out of her vehicle. She starts running down the driveway. She wants to know where her son is. She said she's yelling his name. She's screaming for him. A police detective steps out and says, "Who are you?" She said, "I'm Blake's mother. Blake is my son. Where's my son? Tell me where he is. Tell me what hospital he is." She noticed there's a coroner's van there. She just wants to know, where is my son? She said the detective couldn't even look at her. He put his head down and shook his hand. She said, "No, please don't tell me that. Please don't tell me that." And she just collapsed to her knees. She knew at that point she was never going to see her beautiful baby boy again. Sadly, Sean Dickus arrived home from work a little after 5 p.m. only to find his beautiful 26-year-old wife, Chynna, stabbed to death. Not far from her was his beautiful 10-year-old son, Blake, who had been stabbed, asphyxiated, and had blunt force trauma to his head. Both his wife and his son had been brutally murdered while he was at work. Of course, the police want to speak with Sean. Sean is the last person to have seen Chynna and Blake alive, and they wanted to know what he knew. They quickly ruled him out as a suspect. Police had absolutely no leads. They saw no forced entry to the home. There was no motive. There was nothing they could find out. Who would have committed this horrible crime? They were at a standstill. They didn't know what to think. They didn't know what to believe. Chynna and Sean loved their home, loved their neighborhood, even though they had only been there for a month. However, they did not know that several home invasions had been reported around the month of June and July, when Chynna and Sean had just moved in. Several home invasions had occurred within a half a mile of Sean and Chynna's home. So police wanted to know, were these home invasions related to this crime? Could they be attached to one another? A man in Florida confesses to the crime. However, he is quickly ruled out when he knows nothing about the crime. He just made some story up and said that he did it. However, he did not do it. Another thing police found out, there was a home invasion that occurred on the same street, on the same day of the murders of Chynna and Blake Dickus. The police are at a standstill. They have over 500 leads, but nothing is leading to arrest of who murdered Blake and Chynna Dickus. They are wondering, could these home invasions be connected? Could these crimes be the same crimes? The home invasions were all the same. All of them had a T cut down the screen. All of them happened Monday through Friday, and all of them happened during the day. And the crazy thing about these home invasions, nothing of significant value was taken. Things like coins, food, and drinks were taken from the home. Now, who breaks into a home to steal coins, food, and drinks? First thing that came to my mind were kids. Kids would do something like that, in my opinion. I don't think an experienced burglar would break into a home to steal coins, food, and drinks. But maybe they did, I don't know. But then you have to think about it. If these were kids committing these type of crimes, would kids murder someone? So the whole thing doesn't make sense. The police want to know exactly what's going on and who could have done any of this. And another thing, a man in Florida admitted to these crimes. He said that he committed this crime. Of course, after he gave a statement, nothing made sense, and they quickly ruled out this man. They knew he was making up the whole story. Police didn't believe anything. However, the police lips are sealed. They're not saying if anything was taken from Chynna and Sean's home. They're not saying much because they want to keep these details to themselves, so when they find the actual killer, they can know who committed this crime. It is very sad. It is very frustrating. But the cops do believe if they can solve these home invasions, they maybe can solve the murder of Blake and Chynna Dickus. It has been almost 20 years since the murder of Blake and Chynna Dickus, and it is still an unsolved crime. It is still a cold case after almost 20 years. Police are still looking for the people or the person who could have murdered these two beautiful individuals. My heart goes out to Blake and Chynna's family, especially Blake's mother, Christina. My heart goes out to you. My prayers are with you every day. I could not imagine losing a child and losing a child in that type of way. My heart breaks for you, and you are in my prayers every day. Someone took these two people away from their family, from their loved ones, and they had no enemies. Everyone loved them. They went to church. They went on missions. They loved everyone. They had absolutely no enemies. So no one knows who could have committed this brutal crime. My final thought, I always give y'all my final thought. And my final thought is my opinion on what I think happened on that day in Indiana. I believe that whoever committed these home invasions, whoever is responsible for this, is somehow connected to the murders of Blake and Chynna Dickus. Because don't y'all find it weird that on the same day Blake and Chynna are brutally murdered, a home invasion happens on the same day in the same street? That's just crazy to me. I do believe that maybe the person saw Sean leave and maybe they didn't think anybody was home. They broke into the home and they noticed Blake and Chynna were home and they decided to take their lives so they wouldn't talk. Or who knows, it could be something else. What if somebody had been watching the house and wanted to wait for Sean to leave and then wanted to walk inside and take the lives of Blake and Chynna? Who knows? But in my opinion, these home invasions and this murder are somehow connected in some type of way. I just think it's too crazy. Everything happened on the same day. And like I said earlier, my heart goes out to everyone in this situation, especially Chynna's family and Blake's family. Anything can happen these days. I live in a wonderful neighborhood. I have great neighbors. Now we have alarm systems, Ring cameras, and a lot of times we're so used to being safe and feeling safe that we don't lock our doors. We leave the doors open. We go in and out, the backyard, the front yard. We have landscapers. We have people that come, do our yards, people that take care of pools and pressure wash your houses. So we're used to people all around our house. But we never think somebody's going to break in our home, especially during the day. Especially on the day, because a lot of times you don't have your alarm on during the day when you're at home, you're doing your chores, you're doing this, you're doing that. You don't have the alarm on because you keep walking in and out of the house. But what if someone knows that? What if someone knows that you're not going to set that alarm and you're home by yourself and they want to break in? So now, like I always say, I learn different things in cases. And now I know when I'm home by myself, this house is 100% secure and 100% locked because of this situation. I hope after this video that y'all like, subscribe, and comment, and don't forget to press the notification bell so you never miss a video from me, Anne Marie. And as always, stay safe, always be aware of your surroundings, and always know that I'm here for each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching my video, and for you, I am truly grateful. I will see y'all next week with more videos. Bye.